Every day, 500 million tweets are sent out into the world. Each second that passes means that 6,000 new tweets were just posted. Out of the billions, maybe trillions of total tweets, only one can be considered the greatest tweet of all time. On May 31st, 2018, a man named Naval Ravikant decided he wanted to change the world forever. At 4:23 a.m. Eastern Time, Naval tweeted how to get rich without getting lucky. This was not just one tweet, but as Naval calls it, a tweet storm. 40 tweets carefully crafted with one purpose in mind.
I did a tweet storm called How to Get Rich Without Getting Lucky, and it got pretty popular on Twitter. It's really about wealth creation. I just used a clickbaity title. And it's trying to basically lay out timeless principles of wealth creation that if you absorb them, you become the kind of person who can create wealth, create business, make money. There are three things everybody wants. Everybody wants to be wealthy, everybody wants to be happy, and everybody wants to be fit. Those three, I think, they can actually be taught.
This tweet storm has changed not only my life, but the lives of millions of others. As we approach the 5-year anniversary of this tweet, I felt it was the perfect moment to properly give it the title of the greatest tweet of all time. In order to truly appreciate the greatness of this tweet storm, we first need to understand a little bit about the author. Naval Ravikant was born in New Delhi, India in 1974. He, with his mother and brother, moved to New York when he was 9 years old.
Well, I was raised by a single mom in New York, and she used the local library as a daycare center because it was a very tough neighborhood. And so she would basically say, when you get back from school, go straight to the library and don't come out until I pick you up late at night. So I used to basically live in the library, and I read everything. I read every magazine, I read every pictograph, I read every book, I read every map. I just ran out of stuff to read. I just read everything.
In 1995, he graduated from Dartmouth College with degrees in both economics and computer science. After graduating school, Naval had a brief stint with the Boston Consulting Group before leaving for Silicon Valley. Once in the Valley, Naval quickly got to work. In 1999, he co-founded a product review site called ePinions. After raising $45 million from investors, this finally looked to be Naval's first big break. However, after serious financial trouble in 2003, the co-founders of ePinions, including Naval, were all informed that their shares in the company were worthless. Because of this, the co-founders agreed to merge ePinions with a company that would eventually become shopping.com. The thing is, the financial trouble was all a lie. The big investors in ePinions were hiding a deal with Google that would increase company profits by 1,400%. Naval and his co-founders filed a lawsuit against their former investors. Shopping.com, after initially saying the lawsuit was without any merit, would eventually settle. Around 2007, now armed with new knowledge and hungrier than ever before, Naval set out to start his own venture capital fund, the HitForge. This fund invested in prominent early-stage startups, including Twitter, Uber, and Stack Overflow. Naval's success continued into 2010 when he co-founded AngelList, a fundraising platform that helps startups raise money from angel investors. In 2022, AngelList was valued at over $4 billion. Throughout his career, Naval has invested in over 200 companies. A unicorn is a term used to describe a company worth over $1 billion. For most investors, these unicorn companies are viewed as once-in-a-lifetime opportunities that rarely work out. Naval isn't even 50 years old yet and has already invested in 10 of these unicorns. If you want to make money, there is no better mentor than Naval, and there is no better resource to learn from than his tweet storm about how to get rich without getting lucky. The second tweet reads, "Seek wealth, not money or status. Wealth is having assets that earn while you sleep. Money is how we transfer time and wealth. Status is your place in the social hierarchy." Naval goes on, "Understand that ethical wealth creation is possible. If you secretly despise wealth, it will elude you. Ignore people playing status games. They gain status by attacking people playing wealth creation games." Naval is clearly a very intelligent man. I don't think it's some random coincidence that he opens up this tweet storm by highlighting the differences between wealth, money, and status. It feels like to me that he's saying one of the main reasons people are not wealthy is because they spend their time playing the wrong game. They're too busy chasing status. They're too busy chasing quick money instead of playing the wealth creation game. He continues, "You're not going to get rich renting out your time. You must own equity, a piece of a business, to gain your financial freedom."
This is probably one of the absolute most important points. People seem to think that you can create wealth and make money through work, and it's probably not going to work. There are many reasons for that, but the most basic is just that your inputs are very closely tied to your outputs. In almost any salaried job, even one that's paying a lot per hour, like a lawyer or a doctor, you're still putting in the hours, and every hour you get paid. So what that means is when you're sleeping, you're not earning. When you're retired, you're not earning. When you're on vacation, you're not earning. And you can't earn non-linearly. If you look at even doctors who get rich, like really rich, it's because they open a business. They open like a private practice, and that private practice builds a brand, and that brand attracts people, or they build some kind of a medical device or a procedure or a process where they have intellectual property. So essentially, you're working for somebody else. And that person is taking on the risk and has the accountability and the intellectual property and the brand. So they're just not going to pay you enough. They're going to pay you the bare minimum that they have to get you to do the job. And that can be a high bare minimum, but it's still not going to be true wealth where you're retired.
Okay, so we're not going to get rich renting out our time, but what should my business be? Who should I work with? What should I sell? What should I be studying? And again, how exactly do I get rich? The sixth tweet reads, "You will get rich by giving society what it wants, but does not yet know how to get at scale." If you want to get rich, you need to solve a problem. The bigger problem you solve, the more you'll get paid. If society already knew how to solve a problem, they wouldn't need you, and they certainly wouldn't have to pay you. If you do know how to solve a problem for somebody, they will be glad to pay you. A lot of the times, this may happen by first solving a problem you have in your own life. If a lot of people have the same problem and you are the one that figures out how to get a solution to these people, you will get rich. You need to pick an industry where you can play long-term games with long-term people. Right now, the industry you pick is more important than ever before. You need to be highly confident the career you choose is even going to exist 5 to 10 years from now. For example, if your career choice is data entry, you may need to reconsider. Also, you should never do business with anyone you can't see yourself doing business with again in the future. You need to play long-term games with long-term people. The internet has massively broadened the possible space of careers. Most people haven't figured this out yet. This is still true to this day, and I'll take it a step further and say that AI is disrupting careers in nearly every industry. Most people haven't figured this out yet either. The internet is an extremely powerful tool. No matter where you are in the world, what language you speak, or what you're passionate about, there's an audience of over 50,000 people waiting to hear what you have to say. Right now, AI is developing at a pace that no one can fathom. It wasn't long ago that we got ChatGPT, where we could search up questions and an artificial intelligence would give us an answer. Just a few short months later, we are already at the point now where we have AI agents where I can give it a goal, and this AI agent will create its own tasks, execute the tasks to complete the goal that I gave it. This guy outsourced his entire financial life to an AI and gave it access to his bank accounts, financial statements, credit cards, and email. Like Naval said, most people have not figured this out yet, but I assure you, the ones that have and the ones that do will become extremely wealthy. You need to play iterated games. All returns in life, whether in wealth, relationships, or knowledge, come from compound interest.
Essentially, all the benefits in life come from compound interest, whether it's in relationships or making money or in learning. So compound interest is a marvelous force where it's like, you start out with 1x what you have. And then if you increase 20% a year for 30 years, it's not that you got 30 years times 20% added on. It was compounding. So it just grew and grew and grew until you suddenly got a massive amount of whatever it is, whether it's goodwill or love or relationships or money. So I think compound interest is a very important force. So you have to be able to play a long-term game. And long-term games are good, not just for compound interest, they're also good for trust.
Pick business partners with high intelligence, energy, and above all, integrity. Don't partner with cynics and pessimists. Their beliefs are self-fulfilling. It seems like nearly all successful people place an emphasis on the importance of the people you hang around, and for good reason. Your goals, the ceilings you set for yourself, and what you think is possible are all direct reflections of the people you hang around. Regardless of whether the people around you think they're going to be great or whether they think they're going to amount to nothing, they are both right. You need to learn to build, learn to sell. If you can do both, you will be unstoppable. Arm yourself with specific knowledge, accountability, and leverage.
If you want to make money, you have to get paid at scale. And why you, that's accountability, at scale, that's leverage. And just you getting paid as opposed to somebody else getting paid, that's specific knowledge.
First of all, what is specific knowledge? Specific knowledge is knowledge that cannot be trained for. If society can train you, it can train someone else and replace you. Specific knowledge is found by pursuing your genuine curiosity and passion rather than whatever is hot right now. Building specific knowledge will feel like play to you, but will look like work to others. When specific knowledge is taught, it's through apprenticeships, not schools. Specific knowledge is often highly technical or creative. It cannot be outsourced or automated.
So specific knowledge is probably the hardest thing to get across in this whole tweet storm, and it's probably the thing that people get the most confused about. The thing is that we have this idea that everything can be taught. Everything can be taught in school. And it's not true that everything can be taught. In fact, the most interesting things cannot be taught, but everything can be learned. And very often that learning either comes from some innate characteristics in your DNA, or it could be through your childhood where you learn soft skills, which are very, very hard to teach later on in life, or it's something that is brand new, so nobody else knows how to do it either, or it's true on-the-job training because you're pattern matching into highly complex environments, building judgment in a specific domain. Classic example is investing, but it could be in anything. It could be in judgment in running a fleet of trucks. It could be judgment in weather forecasting. So specific knowledge is the knowledge that you care about, especially if you're later in life. Let's say you're post 20, 21, 22. You almost don't get to choose which specific knowledge you have. Rather, you get to look at what you have already built by that point in time, and then you can build on top of it. The first thing to notice about specific knowledge is that you can't be trained for it. If you can be trained for it, if you can go to a class and learn specific knowledge, then somebody else can be trained for it too. And then we can mass produce and mass train people. Heck, we can even program computers to do it. And eventually we can program robots to walk around doing it. So if that's the case, then you're extremely replaceable. And all we have to pay you is the minimum wage that we have to pay you to get you to do it, when there are lots of other takers who can be trained to do it.
Once you have specific knowledge, you need to embrace accountability and take business risks under your own name. Society will reward you with responsibility, equity, and leverage. The most accountable people have singular, public, and risky brands. Think about Oprah, Trump, Kanye, and Elon. By taking on this accountability and building a brand under your own name, you also build a barrier against competition. There can only ever be one Oprah, one Trump, one Kanye, or one Elon. Society is forced to pay these people what they are worth because they are irreplaceable. Once we have specific knowledge and we're ready to take risks under our own name, there is only one thing left to do: apply leverage. The 21st tweet is a quote from Archimedes, which reads, "Give me a lever long enough and a place to stand, and I will move the earth." Fortunes require leverage. Business leverage comes from capital, people, and products with no marginal cost of replication, code, and media. Capital means money. To raise money, apply your specific knowledge with accountability and show resulting good judgment. Labor means people working for you. It's the oldest and most fought over form of leverage. Labor leverage will impress your parents, but don't waste your life chasing it. Capital and labor are permissioned leverage. Everyone is chasing capital, but someone has to give it to you. Everyone is trying to lead, but someone has to follow you. Code and media are permissionless leverage. They're the leverage behind the newly rich. You can create software and media that works for you while you sleep. These are 5 of the most important tweets throughout this entire tweet storm. They have completely changed my perspective on passive income and how to think about making money in today's world. Naval rarely uses the phrase passive income. He prefers make money while you sleep, and rightfully so. There is nothing passive about making money. The best way to make money while you sleep is to utilize permissionless leverage.
The tweet storm is very abstract. It's deliberately meant to be broadly applicable to all kinds of different domains and disciplines and time periods and places. But sometimes it's hard to work without concrete example. So let's go concrete for a minute. Look at the real estate business. You could start at the bottom. Let's say you're a day laborer. You come in, you fix people's houses. Someone orders you around, tells you break that piece of rock, sand that piece of wood, put that thing over there. There's just all these menial jobs that go on a construction site. If you're working one of those jobs,
unless you're a skilled trade, like say a carpenter or electrician, you don't really have specific knowledge. And even carpenter electrician is not that specific because other people can be trained how to do it. So you can be replaced. So you get paid your 15, 20, 25, 50. If you're really lucky, $75 an hour, but that's about it. You don't have any leverage other than from the tools that you're using. So if you're driving a bulldozer, that's better than doing it with your hands. So day labor in India makes a lot less because they have no tool leverage. You don't have much accountability. You're a faceless cog in the construction crew, and the owner of the house or the buyer of the house doesn't know or care that you worked on it. One step up from that, you might have a contractor, like a general contractor, who someone hires to come and fix and repair and build up their house. That general contractor is taking accountability. They're taking responsibility. So now if, let's say they got paid $250,000 for the job. Sorry, I'm using Bay Area prices. So maybe I'll go rest of the world prices. $100,000 for the job to fix up a house. And it actually costs the general contractor, all said and done, $70,000. Well, that contractor is going to pocket that remaining 30. So they got the upside, they got the equity, but they're also taking accountability and risk. So if the project runs over and there's losses, then they eat the losses. But you see, just the accountability gives them some form of additional potential income. And then they also have labor leverage because they have a bunch of people working for them. But it probably tops out right there. You can go one level above that and you can look at a property developer. This might be someone who is a contractor who did a bunch of houses, did a really good job, then decided to go into business for themselves. And they go around looking for beaten down properties that have potential. They buy them. They either raise money from investors, they're fronted themselves. They fix the place up, and then they sell it for twice what they bought it for. Maybe they only put in 20% more. So it's a healthy profit. So now a developer like that takes on more accountability, has more risk. They have more specific knowledge because now you have to know which neighborhoods are worth buying in, which lots are actually good and or which lots are bad, what makes or breaks a specific property. You have to imagine the finished house that's going to be there, even when the property itself might look really bad right now. So there's more specific knowledge, there's more accountability and risk, and now you also have capital leverage because you're also putting money into the project. But conceivably, you could buy, a piece of land or a broken down house for $200,000 and turn it into $1 million mansion and pocket all the difference. One level beyond that might be a famous architect or a developer, where just having your name on a property because you've done so many great properties increases its value. One level up from that, you might be a person who decides, well, I understand real estate and I now know enough of the dynamics of real estate that rather than just build and flip my own properties or improve my own properties, I'm going to be a massive developer. I'm going to build entire communities. Another person might say, I like that leverage, but I don't want to manage all these people. I want to do it more through capital. So I'm going to start a real estate investment trust. And that requires specific knowledge, not just about investing in real estate and building real estate, but also requires specific knowledge about the financial markets and the capital markets and how real estate trusts operate. One level beyond that might be somebody who says, actually, I want to bring the maximum leverage to bear in this market and the maximum specific knowledge. And so that person would say, well, I understand real estate and I understand everything from basic housing construction to building properties and selling them to how real estate markets move and thrive. And I also understand the technology business. So I understand how to recruit developers, how to write code, and how to build good product. And I understand how to raise money from venture capitalists and how to return it and how all of that works. And obviously not a single person may know this. You may pull a team together to do it where each have different skill sets. But that combined entity would have specific knowledge in technology and in real estate. It would have massive accountability because that company's name would be a very high risk, high reward effort attached to the whole thing. And people would devote their lives to it, take on significant risk. And then it would have leverage in code with lots of developers. It would have capital with investors putting money in and the founder's own capital. And it would have labor of some of the highest quality labor that you can find, which is high quality engineers and designers and marketers who are working on the company. And then you may end up with a Trulia or a Redfin or a Zillow kind of company. And then the upside could potentially be in the billions of dollars or the hundreds of millions of dollars. So as you layer in more and more kinds of knowledge that can only be gained on the job and aren't common knowledge, and you layer in more and more accountability and risk taking, and you layer in more and more great people working on it and more capital on it and more code and media on it, you keep expanding the scope of the opportunity all the way from the day laborer who might just literally be scrapping on the ground with their hands all the way up to somebody who started a real estate tech company and then took it public.
Take Facebook, for example. All Facebook had to do was create a platform to connect people. The value of Facebook is created by the users. As Mark Zuckerberg sleeps at night, the users on Instagram and Facebook are busy creating value. They create content, they write comments, and their data trains the algorithm. The users do all the work to make sure more users watch more ads to make more money for people like Mark. If you want to get rich, you need to realize that an army of robots is freely available. It's just packed in data centers for heat and space efficiency. Use it. Again, with the recent developments in AI, these robots continue to improve, and the tasks they can complete continue to become more complex. The people that leverage and distribute these technologies are going to be the big winners in the long run. If you can't code, write books and blogs, record videos and podcasts. Leverage is a force multiplier for your judgment. Judgment requires experience, but can be built faster by learning foundational skills.
We are now living in an age of nearly infinite leverage, and all the great fortunes are created through leverage. So your first job is to go and obtain leverage. And you can obtain leverage through permission by taking risks and getting people to work for you, or by raising capital, or you can get leverage permissionlessly by learning how to code or becoming a good communicator in podcasting, broadcasting, creating videos, writing, etc. So that's how you get leverage. But once you have leverage, what do you do with it? Well, the first part of your career is spent hustling to get leverage. Once you have the leverage, then you want to slow down a bit because your judgment really matters. It's like you've gone from steering your sailboat around to now you're steering an ocean liner or a tanker. You have a lot more at risk, but you have a lot more to gain as well. You're carrying a much higher payload. So in an age of infinite leverage, judgment becomes the most important skill. Warren Buffett is so wealthy now because of his judgment. Even if you were to take away all of Warren's money, tomorrow investors would come out of the woodwork and hand him $100 billion because they know his judgment is so good. And they would give him a big chunk of that $100 billion to invest. He has massive credibility. He's been highly accountable. He's been right over and over in the public domain. He's built a reputation for very high integrity, so you can trust him. So a person like that, people will throw infinite leverage behind him because of his judgment. Nobody asks him how hard he works. Nobody asks him when he wakes up or when he goes to sleep. They're like, Warren, just do your thing. So especially demonstrated judgment with high accountability, clear track record is critical.
There is no skill called business. Avoid business magazines and business classes. Study microeconomics, game theory, psychology, persuasion, ethics, mathematics, and computers. The more you can understand about people, numbers, and how our universe functions, the better your decision making is going to be. In business, making money, just a bunch of decision making. Naval continues and says, reading is faster than listening. Doing is faster than watching. Naval has a reading list of over 50 books that he personally recommends. These books nearly all focus on the subjects he mentioned in the previous tweet. You should be too busy to do coffee while still keeping an uncluttered calendar. You should always be busy doing something, but when the right opportunity presents itself, you're ready to pounce. Your time is extremely valuable, and each decision you make needs to be based on how much time that decision is going to cost you. Set and enforce an aspirational personal hourly rate. If fixing a problem will save less than your hourly rate, ignore it. If outsourcing a task will cost less than your hourly rate, outsource it. When you complete a task, you're using your time, obviously, but you're also using your energy. You may be awake for 16 hours a day, but you only have so many productive hours. You only have so much energy. You need to minimize the amount of time and energy that's wasted on any task that doesn't get you to your goal. You need to maximize the amount of productive time and energy that's spent on the important things, the tasks and goals that get you one step closer to bringing your vision to reality. You need to work as hard as you can, even though who you work with and what you work on are more important than how hard you work. You need to become the best in the world at what you do. Keep redefining what you do until that's true. One of my favorite quotes of all time was when Naval said, "You escape competition through authenticity." There is no one as good at being you as you are. There is something that you specifically are really good at, and then there's something that society wants. It's your job to figure out where the two meet together. There are no get-rich-quick schemes. That's just someone else getting rich off of you. If you want to get rich, you need to apply specific knowledge with leverage, and eventually you will get what you deserve. The truth is, if you're still watching this video and you truly understand the message Naval is trying to spread, you will become wealthy. It's just a matter of time. What you can't do is look at someone else's success and create some excuse to feel bad for yourself. Stay in your own lane, keep your head down, and work on what you do best. The results will follow. Another one of my favorite quotes from Naval says, "Impatience with actions, patience with results." Ladies and gentlemen, the 40th and final tweet reads, "When you're finally wealthy, you'll realize it wasn't what you were seeking in the first place, but that's for another day." I really hope you enjoyed this tweet storm as much as I did. If you want to find out how I personally make my money, click the first link in the description, or if you want to stay on YouTube, check out this video.